unboxing video.
Hello and welcome, dears. You Vigilante Doubtfighter, dear, here to tell you about this wonderful figure from Hot Toys, the 1/6 scale Avengers Infinity War Thor, dear. Now, this is such a lovely figure, and thank you for tuning in to the collector's side, dears. Let's have a look at the lovely packaging and all of the wonderful things inside, dears. Well, here we go. What's up, everyone, and welcome to the collector's side. I am the collector, and you are in for a little bit of a treat here because I have the Avengers Infinity War Hot Toys MMS 474 Thor. Now, real quick, let's take a quick look at the packaging and then we'll crack this figure open, see what's inside. I have been very excited to open this figure. I have my gripes about the figure, I will tell you. However, as far as adding it to your Marvel collection, it is an excellent piece. The sculpting is beautiful. We'll take a look at everything in a moment in better detail. So here we have the packaging. Now, you know, I have to say, as much as I love some of the packaging that Hot Toys does, this is not as interesting and unique as some of the other packaging that they do. Now, there is some embossing. You know, you see some spot varnish here on the box in certain places. Here you get that spot UV coating, which is, you know, it's nice. The graphic, it's okay, you know, nothing spectacular. You've got your box here. I mean, you know, it's not as interesting as some other packages that I've seen. For example, as far as Thor boxes go, I have here the Thor Dark World package. And that is pretty badass. Now, I mean, you know, look at this box. Now, to me, this is such an interesting piece because, for one, the packaging is done in such a way that it really, you know, brings a little life of its own. You know, it's got the hammer shape. I mean, it really is just a beautiful box. And, you know, it's got nice detailing on it. And then you kind of bring out the Thor box for Infinity War, and it's just meh. You know, there's really nothing to say, wow, what a cool box. Now, Hot Toys has done some interesting packaging in the past. Probably one of the most amazing that I have ever seen is the Christopher Reeve Hot Toys box that has the shape of the Superman S as the box. That's unbelievable. You know, I mean, they could have done a little bit more interesting things with the packaging. Even on some of the Star Wars boxes, you know, I've seen some boxes that are a little bit more interesting. So, that being said, we've basically got your gold here with the Avengers Infinity War in foil. You've got a little Avengers logo here in gold foil in the back. It's all the wonderful people associated with the figure and the all of the hard work that goes into it. So for all of you listed here on the box who have worked so incredibly hard on this piece, thank you very much. And why don't we go ahead and crack this bad boy open and see what is inside. And here we have Thor. Now, I would say, slightly disappointed in this figure, to be honest with you. I think, you know, for one thing, if you are collecting the Infinity War characters, it's a great piece to have. As far as the sculpting goes, as far as the head portrait, the likeness of Chris Hemsworth, the details on the hair, they're really doing a beautiful job with the layering and the paint applications to the hair. You know, just that's one thing that really impresses me. As far as the accessories go, Stormbreaker here is a beautiful accessory. These are all the accessories that come with the figure. Now, the articulation is one thing that is not bad. However, the range of motion is very limited. One of the main reasons the range of motion is limited is because the torso here houses the batteries for the light up feature for the chest. Now, me personally, I would almost rather forget about the light up aspect of it. But obviously, that's one of the key things that the character has when he evolves into Infinity War. He lights up, he's got his lightning powers and everything. So I kind of understand where they're coming from on that. I wish maybe there was just a difference in the paint applications and it just gave you like the glowing effect. I personally think, as far as the lightning effects go, I'm happy with the way these look. I feel, in my opinion, I don't think they need to light up. I'm not thinking that that's necessary, but that's just me. You know, it's not a deal breaker, I would say, but I am disappointed in the range of motion, and I'll get to that in a minute. But basically, just the details of the figure, the cape, very nice cape, really nicely done. I really like how they did the draping. you know, the treatment to the fabric itself, it's very nicely done. There's this sort of you know, like these graphics that kind of go down the side, these little details here, like I don't know if you can see, but that's very nicely done. The fabric for the clothing, it's really, in my opinion, it seems to be the same pants as the Thor Dark World figure, same boots as the Thor Dark World figure, just a little bit darker color. Kind of goes with this all black theme going on. Now I will say that this is my first figure that has the rubber arms, so I'm really excited about that, only because I absolutely love this. As far as articulation goes on this, it has an excellent detailing on the rubber arms here. Really nice sculpting. Got the vein and everything. I mean, it's just really nicely done the way they make these. Just as far as popping them out, they're very easy to pop in and out. You just want to be careful. But as far as articulation goes, I mean, it's really excellent. There is some slight movement here, but it's really the rubber. You really can't like turn it. You know, it's just not meant to do that. You know, you get a little bit of pivot, but if you can kind of see, it's really not a lot. You don't want to do it too much. As far as the rest of the articulation goes, you see this endoskeleton here. It's got this metal endoskeleton to allow for the bending, and it holds its position, which is really awesome. It holds its position when you do a flex of some sort. It stays in place nicely. The shoulder, the ball joint allows for a nice range of motion on the off the torso there where it connects. As far as the hands, there are 2, 3, 4 pairs of hands that come with Thor. You've got the dynamic posing base. Now I like that they included this. I personally I love these stands because you can get some really nice posing action with these stands. They support the weight of the figure, and you know, there's a lot that you can do with it. So you also have this alternative body armor. Now the body armor here, it's instead of a cape, so you have the 2 breastplate pieces, and you have this piece that goes on. You take the cape piece off, and what that does is gives you the you know, kind of like the armorless look here when you connect his arms. One thing I also like is that with these particular figures, they have a black ball joint for the wrist peg. So like the wrist peg here is like a black wrist peg and a ball joint, and what it does is it gives you that illusion that you've got the extended sleeves. And then they include in the package, they include the extra wrist pegs that are flesh colored so that you can pop them into the flesh arms here, the rubber. Now, as far as the accessories go, this is the most beautiful piece of the accessories. This is Stormbreaker. As you can see, the detail is absolutely just astounding. The paint applications, the way they did the silver, it's just outstanding. It really is beautiful work. All the etching and everything, all the detailing, it really holds a candle to the die-cast hammer in the Thor Dark World figure. Then you've got all the sculpting work for Groot's limb here with the wood grains and everything, and the little leaf. It's just really nice. I mean, really beautiful accessory. So that's basically an overview of the figures. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to put in the batteries. I'm going to take some photos of him all lit up and everything. At least, you know, I'll see if I have some time at the end just to pop the batteries in and give you guys a look at the accessories on that. What you do is there's a little groove here for each disc, and you pop it out gently, and then you swap them out and you put the lightning effects in. Those lightning effects go on the arms at the bottom, which is really nice. Gives you a nice little effect. As far as articulation, that's really what I want to talk about. It's articulation and range of motion. Now, unfortunately, in my opinion, the range of motion is very limited. Now, Thor himself, he can look up, you know, really about that much. It's not a lot before the head starts to pop off, and that's disappointing. He looks down a little bit, not a lot. You know, obviously he gets left and right, but this really prohibits him from looking too far in one direction or the other. So that's about as far as he's going to go. You know, it's not the best. Torso is really just not going to move. It does lightly pivot, which is good because at least it gives you just, you know, you can kind of get some dynamic stances, I guess. That's really about the extent of the posing for this particular figure. Arms come out about that high. They don't go any higher than that. Range of motion is pretty solid going up and back. You know, it goes up that much. It goes back about that much. pretty good. And then as far as holding a pose with the elbows, these, the body armor here, that's about as far as he stretches. So, that's all you're really going to get out of this. That's what's disappointing is, these rubber body armor type arms, they're ambitious, but they really prevent decent articulation. I would almost rather they be sculpted details or softer material, because then you can get a little bit better articulation. You get this bunching here on that, this latex kind of, thick rubbery material. And, you get your decent range of motion in the wrists, and your wrist guard rotates a little bit, but you don't have any upper bicep swivel here. You really just can pivot the arm. There's no upper bicep swivel. As far as the legs, you get your double jointed knees, and you get your bending about that far. This is about as far forward as you're going to be able to comfortably get the figure's legs to be positioned. That's about it. Forward, backward, it's a little bit more of a floating thing going on. Now, as far as ankle pivot, we do have a decent amount of ankle pivot. What the foot does here is it points pretty far forward. What's kind of nice about that is it really just kind of gives you the illusion of floating in midair. So if you just nudge the boots down a little bit to cover the gap in the ankle, he kind of gives you like a floating type of a look here. So when you make the figure look down and you've got the lightning effects on, it's a pretty sweet angle. That's about as dynamic as you're going to get. Now if you get him onto the stand, kind of get him clipped in, he's kind of floating up there. Get those feet pointing, and there you go. So that's pretty much it. Now as far as the hands go, obviously you got the Stormbreaker hand. It's going to hold that. This really doesn't hold much of anything. You can get it in there, but it's not really going to stay. These hands are really the ones that are meant to hold Stormbreaker. They have a nice angle to it, so when you put it in the wrist, he kind of brings it back a little bit. It's pretty good, but that's where it's really most disappointing about this figure is, this here is really about as much as I can pose him. I can spread him, his legs go out about that far. He does have some upper thigh swivel on both legs. It doesn't do very much for you, but you can kind of, you give him a little bit of a stance, and he can kind of get in a little bit of, that's about it. I mean, it's really not much in the way of an action-packed pose. He's not going to give you very much. He has some dynamic flying positions. If you kind of get him like this, and you get him up on the stand, change his arm to a fist, he can kind of give you some cool angles that way. If you put Stormbreaker in his hands, he'll kind of, he gives you a decent pose with Stormbreaker. If you want to, you can do that. Let's pop out that fist. I'm going to get to this posing. All right. So I want to try and keep this quick. I don't want to ramble on too much. But basically, in my opinion, I kind of like the Thor Dark World figure better than I do this. I think the light up effects are pretty cool, and I'll show you that at the very end. But as far as the overall flexibility and range of motion of the figure, it's not the best. I've seen better, on other figures. So you can see Stormbreaker in his hands there, and you can kind of, it's kind of like a wind-up, sort of a swing, but it's very limited, really, really limited, and you have to be careful that the edge of the armor doesn't scratch up his chin, and you can kind of get like almost like a swing kind of thing, like ha, ha. That's really it. I mean, he's really meant to, I think, think just be more decorative, you know, really just kind of blend in with your shelf of Avengers than it is to be like a really dynamically posed piece. That's not what this is for. As far as the rubber arms, now it's really difficult to get the hands into that rubber skeleton. Those pegs, the wrist pegs, really pop in nicely. They don't come out easily off of the arms. So what we can do here is pop out the cape, swap it for the capeless look, and this is pretty cool. You know, this is pretty cool, the way he is sort of posed here. I like his look without the cape on this particular figure. I think it's a really nice look. Now I don't have the hands in there because I don't want to mess anything up with the wrists and the rubber. You know, it really fits in tightly. So what you can do is he can really get some nice, you know, make some muscles and, you know, I mean, he really can. You can get a lot out of this on these arms. They're really nicely done. So there we go. So not too bad. Now, forgive me, I don't have the hands in there because, again, they're really tight. So popping those things in there is going to be very, very difficult to do. It's a good thing because you can just sort of pop the wrist pegs in there and leave them there. They're not going to really pop out when you change the hands, but I already tried to do that. And it's just, you know, you really got to work it to get them in. So I don't want to damage anything by doing that, because I did notice there's this little chip in the rubber here when I took them out of the package. So I just want to be very careful that I don't do anything to scratch it or mess it up. So that's pretty much it. So overall, I would say, you know, really, you're getting this figure to continue collecting the line. You're getting this figure to complete your collection as far as Avengers go. If you're getting all the figures from the movie, that's what you're doing with this figure. That's great. But as far as the figure itself, it's not their best in my opinion. I'm really not feeling the lack of range of motion. I cannot get, and I like having dynamic poses on my stuff. I can't get him in a really dynamic pose. It's just not going to work out that way. So that's pretty much it. But otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to pop the batteries in, and I'm going to show you what the light up effects look like, so that way you get an idea of it. I've taken some pictures, and if you bear with me, I will be right back, and you will see the battery effects. And here we have Thor with his lightning effects, and it is, you know, I mean, it's nicely done, I have to say. It's really, and also they're very bright. But I do like the fact that you have the lightning effects on the hands here, that you can put them in, you know, slide them up on the wrists, and then you can kind of manipulate them a little bit any which way that you want to, you know, give you that desired look. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just flick that switch. Now these are really bright, so you'll see how bright that is. Kind of coming off of there. Pretty bright, right? Let me turn off the lights so you get a better look. Now look at that. Look how bright that is. It's a really nice look. So, you know, on the shelf, he's going to look great. If you have him in the simple pose, he's really going to be a nice figure to add to your collection. As long as you don't have the expectation that he's going to do some really dynamic comic book style poses or movie accurate poses. Really, the articulation is not bad, but the range of motion is very limited. So that's my major gripes with this particular figure. So once again, thank you guys for tuning into the collector side. Very much appreciated. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, pass on the video wherever you want to send it to, and also make sure you check out the description for the link to purchase this figure for yourself if you want to add this figure to your collection. So it all depends really just on what you're looking for, what what your preferences are as far as you know, how you're going to display the figure, what you have in your collection, what you choose to put in your collection, and that's pretty much it. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Take care, and I will be catching you soon. Keep calm, pose on, have a good night.